All right, hello everybody. Welcome to another Green Square Talks Battlebots podcast. So I'm here with Derin, Alex Price making her return to the podcast once again from Team Horizon. We might see Blaze and Mantine in here, maybe. I don't know, but how's it going, all of you?
Doing wonderfully.
It's going pretty all right. I sent out 10 packages today, so ah,
Yeah, and one of them's coming to my place too. So,
it is.
yep. So,
Green Square over here got our top armor from one of the fights that we're going to be talking about
yep.
today, so stay tuned.
Yeah, so basically referencing what Alex said, Horizon put up a bunch of parts on eBay, and there are currently some up right now. So I definitely highly recommend checking that out, along with the website for cool merch, as well as the YouTube channel, because her videos are very fun to watch. Great recap of both their matchups so far, and I'm sure we'll get another fun recap here. And yeah, it's a great time. So,
100%.
oh yeah. So yeah, coming into this fight card here. So yeah, we got a lot to talk about with this one. So lots of fun
Oh
moments that I'm
boy.
sure you all have been waiting for to hear our thoughts on. So I'd say let's go ahead and get started. Lead off with the first one, which is probably going to be one of the bigger discussions of this thing. And hey, Blaze,
Blaze.
Blaze,
Blaze?
I see you.
Hey guys,
Hey, Blaze, how's it going?
Yay!
NordVPN. NordVPN.
NordVPN.
Well, anyway, we're gonna lead
No,
this
we're
off
not.
with
Bye.
probably the most chaotic fight of this thing, and there went Blaze. But yeah, probably one of the more chaotic and dramatic fights. The community's been talking about this one a lot. Captain Shredderator and
Oh boy.
Riptide. So this one was probably the easiest one I predicted. Well, the easiest one of my predictions for this episode to predict, and this fight went for the most part how I thought it was going to, but still that was nuts. So let's hear everyone's thoughts on the fight, but specifically talk about the fight. We'll wait to talk about the drama until partway in. So I think it'd be a good idea to talk about the actual fight first.
Yeah. This was fairly open and shut. I mean, I kind of knew who'd win. Let's be honest. Feel bad for poor Shredderator getting these vertical spinners and never really getting a chance to show off its power. I mean, it got a good couple hits in. I'll give it credit. It whipped off one of the wedgelet pieces and did knock Riptide, I think, upside down. I can't quite remember. I think it did.
Yeah, they
But it
did.
was getting a good couple of shots in before the teeth just started falling off, or getting ripped off, I should say. So yeah, it was a good fight, and then but that's not now.
Yeah.
Yeah, good fight.
Uh, I guess to kind of build upon that a little bit, the watching this fight again was like almost like watching a snuff film. It it was it was just this very systematic ripping apart of Captain Shredderator, and oh my poor little heart, because I have such a love for the Captain Shredderator team. Uh, I've got friends on that team, and I'm friends with Nave, and I love that team. Uh, to see just the amount of damage that Riptide uh, is not just dishing out, but is capable of doing when left to its own devices. It's absolutely insane. Uh, Riptide, in my opinion, uh, probably one of the bots to watch coming into the tournament. Uh, but once again, my heart weeps for Shredderator.
Yeah. Yeah, like all I gotta say is holy smoke, Riptide in this one.
Jeez.
Going to the prediction podcast when I was talking about this match, I was predicting a possible de-shelling of Captain Shredderator. Just taking apart that shell piece by piece count, basically. So, because that's
I
pretty
mean,
much what.
most of it was still there. So
Yeah, part of
half
it
of
was
it,
still
maybe.
there, but
It was like peeling it, basically.
yeah, I kind of had a good idea of what was going to happen because we saw a few weapon on weapon shots, and Captain Shredder looked off balance after one or two shots, meaning Riptide was already taking teeth off. But like Alex said, holy crap, I feel bad for the Shred team because
Yeah.
that was. I think we very rarely see beatings that brutal, and yeah, and
And well, you very
hearing that the
rarely. Oh,
Nabes only
sorry.
had a day to prepare for the Jackpot fight was, yeah, that's
Yeah.
even crazier, and so
You very rarely see that shell on Shredderator breached. If I remember correctly, it really only happened once last year, and that was during its tournament fight with Rotator. So to see that extent of damage done to that shell, it is, in my opinion, incredibly terrifying. And, once again, that weapon on Riptide is one of the best in the field at the moment. But it's just a matter of should it have been allowed to do that?
yeah, yeah, 100%. So yeah, I last thing I say before we start talking about like the controversy or the drama, I'd say
Of
drama is probably the
course.
better word for it. Uh, Yeah, like Alex said, Riptide's got to be a favorite to win the whole thing right now because Glitch, Mad Catter, and now Captain Shredder are three very dominant KOs, quick KOs, and
Mm-hmm.
just showing the power in that egg beater. And that thing is looking pretty unstoppable so far. And they definitely have their work cut out for them though, because the fights are really only going to get tougher from here. So. Oh, lots of
Mm-hmm.
big things coming for Riptide, but I'm sure they're definitely on point to take a high seed if they can keep this up. So,
Mm-hmm.
let's go ahead and talk a little more about the drama, which I'm sure is one of the things that y'all watching this want to hear our takes on. So, yeah, the community's been going nuts about the many late hits that Riptide is. I don't really want to say late hits exactly, but the many extra shots that Riptide was getting after they flipped Captain Shredder over. And how about I'm just gonna stop talking right now and let's just leave the floor to us and hear our thoughts on this whole thing. So
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go first, or should I go first?
you go ahead and go
Anyone can go
first.
first, honestly.
Uh,
I'm the
right.
guest, so.
Oh, for Pete's, I mean, I'm barely. Anyway, right. Um, this was interesting. I think it was a little much, and I I'm trying to figure out how to say this diplomatically. Oh boy. Yeah, was it a late hit? Yes. That technically isn't against the rules, but it's kind of against the whole sportsmanship thing, which is kind of bad. Like, really bad. Like, I think I can excuse, like, the first two or so hits because you don't know, and, what's the term? Heat of the moment. Fine.
Mhm.
But, like, afterwards, I'm like, why are you guys still hitting them? And, like, I I don't know, man. This is just a of sequence of events, and it's just like you didn't have to keep hitting them. And it's not even that they're a rookie team because Riptide was here last year, and the, this I this is hard to talk about. Like, I think yes, it was a little too far. Yes, it was, and they probably should get maybe a little reprimanded, a little, or at least something. And I will say
Mhm.
that the reaction online has been incredible. Like, in not really, it's just I'm I didn't know that there could be a robot or person more hated than Jake Ewart, but damn, holy goodness sakes! I mean, I think the Reddit completely. I think all the social media platforms just kind of exploded. And I
Oh,
can't like
Reddit
there was
absolutely imploded.
Oh yes.
yeah, there were like so many posts calling Ethan Kurtz and like the team out, and I think the team reaction that the social media for the team did to try and quell the situation wasn't
Mhm.
exactly the best. I think I read it and it felt a little too like they didn't really come out and say sorry or like say we went a little too far or something and say something like that. They kind of just sort of tried to deflect blame, I think, a little, and
Mhm.
that didn't help things. And that's I think this also what made it worse is a couple of things about the team itself and the team captain, which is a whole other discussion, which I probably will try to avoid for reasons of that. That's a whole other kettle of worms that that doesn't it's really relevant to this. I mean, it kind of is, but it
Right.
isn't. So let's move on. It's just a bunch of things. I think all this hate is the culmination of a lot of pent up resentment for this team based on reoccurring patterns and other background information stuff. So it's just kind of sad that I think what made it worse is that this episode was the last episode before a 2 week long break. So
Yeah.
people haven't had anything to look forward to, so they're left with this, and also a couple other things that kind of made the episode a little a bit like later down the line we'll discuss later.
Yeah.
That all kind of just hit, and it was like a perfect storm of bad, and just a lot of stuff happened. I think everyone should just kind of move on to the next thing. It happened. Something will probably happen because of it. Let's move on. That's my take, I guess, if that made any sense at all. I
Yeah.
probably rambled for most
I'll
of it.
quick
No,
share.
it
You
made
go ahead.
sense. You
Oh, good.
you like honestly like nailed a lot of sort of the general talking points of this whole thing. I'm sorry if I've interrupted you at all,
Oh, you're
Green.
fine.
Uh, uh, I guess seeing as I'm talking, I will add my 2 cents here. When it sort of like when it comes to this fight, it's sort of like the what is it? The old Robot Wars Series 4 fight between Razor and Pussycat, where Pussycat kept attacking Razor after it was kind of clear that they were immobilized. Uh, One thing that uh, Riptide had mentioned in their social media post was that the way that the audience sees the fight and the way that people see the fight as it's happening are two completely different things. Uh, your perception of the fight can 100% skew how you continue to uh, go about doing a fight. And uh, as much as it seems that this is a very open and shut, this is like 100% this person's fault, blah, 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 there, there can be some areas of we don't know. That being said, uh, if your opponent continues to engage, then attack. If they tell you to stop, then stop. Uh, in the in our case against Monsoon, uh, they had asked us if we wanted to be hit again, and we gave them the go ahead. Uh, it's sort of just like a how do I want to say this? It is a sportsmanship thing, and it is a respect thing. Because, like Green had mentioned earlier, after this fight, Brian only had a day to get ready for the fight with Jackpot. And when your robot is, you know, damaged to such an extent that, you know, you basically just have like crumbs of it. It can be hard and it can be incredibly demoralizing to have to continue to, or not continue, to have to put that thing back together when, you know, you're not sure if it's gonna even work for the next fight. Did it make for an incredible spectacle? Absolutely. But when team members are telling you to stop, when referees are telling you to stop, when so many people are telling you to stop, you stop. That is, you know, what you do in this sport. They had put the controllers down. They had been like, yo, what's up? Stop.
Yeah, totally solid stuff. Yeah, I don't know if you had anything else you were about to say, but
Oh no, that's sort of my
yeah.
that's sort of my 2 cents.
Yeah, so my takes on this, yeah, this is pretty big, and I kind of want to be careful how I word this and everything, but I kind of agree with a lot of what's been said so far here. Like, I personally think that lots of those extra hits were a little more uncalled for, basically, just because, like, Captain Shredder was clearly done for at that point. Like, even though the weapon was still working and providing them a little bit of movement while they were upside down, it's clear Captain Shredder was done for. And like Alex said, they already put their controls down and were notifying the Riptide team to stop hitting them. Like, they've lost the fight and everything. But then Riptide continued to keep hitting them. Yeah, I could maybe kind of see some of the stuff that Riptide was talking about in their recap post on Facebook, where they mentioned that basically just because the new movement rules, they thought that like the movement that Captain Shredder is providing while upside down was enough to count as movement, so they kept hitting them again and again. But still, just feels like bad sportsmanship, at least to me. I can see where some people are going with when they're on that side, but yeah, I'm like, including Nick Nave even mentioned on Reddit, $10,000 worth of extra damage. Like, that's just nuts. And
Yeah.
like, it makes me wonder. I for one, I don't think this is going to happen at all. Like, I brought up this idea a few times to other Discord groups, and everyone's agreed that basically we don't think it's going to happen. But could Battlebots maybe add a tap out button at some point, kind of to like try to stop a fight or something like that? But
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty certain it's unlikely that's going to happen. But
I know that the idea of tap outs has been brought up, and one of the things that I think is keeping tap outs from becoming a thing
yeah,
is what's the word? If basically like if something doesn't go well in a fight, like say you say like the light turns green and you basically horizon out of the gate. and uh and if you want to avoid any further damage and just take the L and uh have more time to fix an issue, you can just tap out, and that doesn't make for a good fight. That is a fight that a live audience is paying to see. In addition to, that is a fight that Discovery Channel is additionally paying to have air.
Yeah.
So it does. There's something of a weighing the options kind of deal when it comes to that.
Yeah, that was kind of my thoughts on it as well, because like Zaza and I were talking about this and Uda, but yeah, like Alex said, it's a TV show. They live for lots of destruction like this and live for better fights, and
Mhm.
definitely avoiding that would definitely be a thing. But yeah, we'll find out regardless, and hopefully Jackpot was able to get back together well enough to
Mm.
put up a massive fight against Jackpot, or even win that fight, because I think this is kind of a must-win situation for Captain Shredder, because I think they need a win to be able to make the bracket, for
Oh
sure.
yeah,
But yeah, that was a really rough. That was just a really rough fight for Captain Shred, and yeah, we'll see how things go for Riptide later on,
yeah,
and. So I don't think there's really much more to talk about. I don't know if any of us have much more we want to talk about involving the controversy, but yeah, we could talk
yeah.
about
Let's move on to their next opponents.
yeah, let's
Let's.
take on yeah, Captain Shredder is going to take on Jackpot for their next opponent, and Riptide
Mm.
had already been talking about how they're coming for Black Dragon, who is their next opponent. So, what are our thoughts on their next opponents? So,
Let's see, Captain Shredder versus Jackpot. Assuming Shredder can actually get back together again, um, it'll probably be Jackpot because they have a wedge, but I don't know. You never know. Riptide, Black Dragon. Unlike all of their opponents thus far, let me think. Who have they faced? Mad
Glitch, Mad
Catter's
Catter, and Captain Shredder.
okay. I think Black Dragon will probably be their hardest test yet because Black Dragon is quite well driven and reasonably low. It also has the ground weapon, which and if it's in fashion, it'll win like a tip speed engagement. So hopefully, I think it's a bit of a toss up there, to be honest, in my opinion. Just kind of surprising to say, but might be a toss up there. That's my opinion.
Yeah. So my takes on these matchups, Jackpot and Captain Shredder, combination of the repair job that Captain Shredder's got on their hands after that fight, as well as the fact that I think Jackpot has a slight design advantage with the fact that they have a plow as well as the vert, is why I have Jackpot in that one. Riptide and Black Dragon, in heart, I want Black Dragon to win this. Black Dragon's one of my favorite robots out there. But sadly, I think Riptide is going to take this one. Basically, I think Riptide, Black Dragon, because like I think if Riptide came with some sort of ground game configuration, like what they went with Glitch and Mad Catter, which I think is what they're going to go with for this match, uh, Black Dragon has kind of struggled a bit against ground game opponents. Most of their losses have come from them losing the ground game and not being able to control the match. And this is one thing where I think the fact that Black Dragon doesn't have a lot of reach is going to really hurt them here. And lots of that is why I think Riptide is going to get the upper hand very early on in this fight. And I think this is going to be a pretty one-sided fight for Riptide. Once again, I really want Black Dragon to win this one, but I sadly think the odds are against them with this one. But Black Dragon has another fight coming soon. I think next episode, actually, they fight Beta, and I think that's a lead-off one if I remember right. But that should be a great match either way. So, Alex, you want to talk about these matchups if you're interested?
Absolutely. Shredderator versus Jackpot. both of these machines are currently on 1 and 2, if I'm not mistaken. And Shredderator had a victory over another tournament mainstay for the past 2 seasons in Hijinks in their last fight, and Hijinks aren't doing too well either this season so far. I would say that even though Shredderator has a very, very big repair job ahead of them, they still pose a threat to Jackpot, who, while they do have a great record at the moment over horizontals, they have sometimes looked pretty rough coming out of those fights. Namely, their fight with Tombstone and heck, even their fight with Malice last year, not at Remars. They're I think Jackpot does have something of a driver's advantage, though. Jeff is an absolutely incredible driver. You know, I know him. I've spent a lot of time with him at events, and talked with him a lot. I've even fought him a few times. He is such a great driver, and that driver's advantage is very much going to be the thing that, in my opinion, will give him this fight. But that's just my thought there. As for Riptide and Black Dragon, I think this is actually a shockingly evenly matched fight, just in terms of the quality of machine, because Black Dragon is an incredibly built machine. It takes hits like nothing else. It has not been knocked out ever. And Riptide is hitting like nothing else in this season. Ethan's driving is incredibly aggressive, and Black Dragon is really going to have to be on the defensive this fight if they want to pull out the W. I think this one could go either way.
Solid stuff. So, should we move on to fight number 2? All right. Sadly, Blaze is not in here as of right now, but yeah. So next matchup, Death Roll and Mammoth. So
Ooh.
this one, another one where I was kind of predicting the outcome here, and but I will admit, Mammoth did give this one a pretty good shot, at least from the start of it. They got a few pretty solid moments in at the beginning of this match, but then I think it was pretty much just one driving error by Ricky, and that was about the end of it right there for Mammoth. But for the fact that I think this is a big design disadvantage for Mammoth, I think they did pretty solid in this one, in my opinion. So, I'll go ahead and leave the floor to you all for this one.
Yeah, just quickly rewatched the fight. Mammoth had a couple good little hits, and Defrel hit them like once into the screws, and then they just stopped moving entirely, and then that was kind of the entire fight. Pretty quick and easy victory for Defrel. Very efficient, well done, no mess. Really much to say, to be honest. It was a really quick fight.
Uh, what is it? So I think this fight has really shown how much more durable Mammoth has become over the years. Uh, I know it looks just like a bunch of like sticks that are, you know, glued together and like it's held together with hopes and dreams, but Mammoth is a shockingly durable machine that uh, you know, could have held up to more punishment from death roll had they not been having uh, a lot of the issues that they'd been having this season. I know that they were having some trouble getting things going, but once again, uh, not a terrible showing against Death Roll. Losing to Death Roll is like not a bad thing, especially if you look good coming out of it, uh, and especially if you look intact coming out of it. um, I've yet to see a performance out of Death Roll that has wowed me as much as their season 4 run this season, but it's still just so wonderful to see them back. We were pitted close to them in the pits, and just being able to look at this machine and like talk to these people, it was a nice little. It was really nice, and they clearly were having a great time being back, uh, and they got a really good win here. Mammoth is not an easy machine to fight, uh, especially after its you know wonderful gymnastic showing against Starchild a few weeks ago.
Yep.
Uh, Mammoth once again proving it is not a pushover. Uh, but once again, a very good win for Death Roll in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, ever since Death Roll's lost to Cobalt, it's got two pretty solid rebounding victories over Switchback and now Mammoth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was expecting Mammoth to its structure to fall apart in this match, but glad that didn't happen exactly in this one.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, yeah, I would like to see another. I would like to see a Death Roll victory that's over like a. I don't. I don't really want. How do I say this? A harder opponent, kind of like, because I feel their strength of schedule just hasn't been there so far. But it was a good
Yeah.
victory regardless, in my opinion.
I'm
And
just strangling in your
like,
sleep for saying that.
like Alex said, Blaze. And like Alex said, like
Okay. Bye.
Mammoth is like a challenging opponent in its own ways, basically, just on the fact that it's such a complex and different design. And like that's probably how they won those fights against Huge and Copperhead a couple seasons ago. So, uh, yeah, like Mammoth might not, in my opinion, Mammoth might not be the hardest opponent, like strength of schedule wise, but it's difficult on the fact that it's just such a different robot. And Deathroll took care of this one pretty handily and all that fun stuff. So, uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so let's talk about their next opponents then. So Deathroll is taking on Monsoon, which is a pretty big
Ooh.
test for them in a pretty big international battle. Mammoth is taking on Kraken in what's a must-win fight for both robots. I think both of these are in a way must-win fights for one, if not both robots. So, uh, thoughts on the thoughts on those two matchups then?
The Death Roll and Monsoon. Oh, why must you make me choose? I love both of these robots. I this is gonna be a battle of reach, and because both of these opponents are kind of known for their reach and their weapons, Monsoon wins because I love them as well. They have a wedge, so they'll probably win. Mammoth Kraken. Kraken. Well, actually, should we wait to talk about this fight for later?
So maybe we just talk about it now, but then we won't talk about Mammoth Kraken when we get to
All right.
the Kraken fight.
Slight spoiler alert. Kraken actually moved pretty well last fight. It just were up against Copperhead, so I think they'll probably get the win here. To be honest, I don't know what Mammoth can really do to them.
Yeah.
So
oh.
yeah, that's basically a quick, probably an open shut case for Kraken. So yeah, that's my take, I guess.
Yeah, so my takes on these Death Roll Monsoon, I'm really looking forward to that one personally. Like, I think that's gonna be a great test for both robots, especially their durability with this one. I think either Monsoon is gonna win on this one, and they're my pick to win this one, because I think Monsoon has the better weapon. I think they have the design advantage with the fact that they go for ground game on this one. But I think Deathroll could possibly win this by outlasting Monsoon, because what I'm kind of concerned about with Monsoon exactly, we'll talk about this when we get to Monsoon and Whiplash later on, but Monsoon, their weapon has been like incredible so far this season, but Drive proved to be possibly a little bit of a concern after the Whiplash fight, which we'll talk about a little later on because it looked like they were having some issues at the end of that one, making me think either Monsoon's gonna win this one on sheer power, or I think Deathroll's gonna outlast Monsoon basically, and some of that stuff is why I'm gonna edge Monsoon on this one, but like I could absolutely see Deathroll taking this one. I think this is a must-win for Monsoon. Anyway, if they for sure want to make bracket, they might be able to make it as a 1-3, maybe, but we'll see. Mammoth and Kraken. Kraken's drive looked pretty good after in the fight with Copperhead. Like it seems like we'll be talking about Kraken and Copperhead a little later on, but yeah, I think that one's just going to be a driving match, basically. Who can avoid making. Because I think what's going to happen here is. I think Mammoth could probably control the match with the lifter, but I think if Ricky Williams makes one big driving error, similar to what he did in this fight, really, I think Kraken could take advantage of that and possibly put Mammoth in a similar situation to what it was in this one. I think I'm gonna lean toward. I think I'm actually gonna lean towards Mammoth on this one, but that's another tough one to call. Both these are tough matchups to call, in my opinion. So
I would have to agree with you there. Death Roll Monsoon. Oh, good lord. uh, we on the Horizon team love the Monsoon team. They are absolutely incredible. And we'll talk about their performance in the main event later on, but absolutely this is going to be a knockdown, drag down brawl, basically, against two really good vertical spinners, and sort of what was brought up earlier. It is going to be a battle of reach, and it might end up being a battle of ground game. And as a lot of Monsoon's opponents have learned this season, they have really good ground game. And one driving mistake from Death Roll is going to probably put them out. I don't think uh, either of these teams. What? Oh, sorry. I don't think either of these teams are going to win or lose. Like, if anything, the fans are going to win, because this is like two main eventers, basically.
100%.
Uh, as for Mammoth Mammoth Kraken. Uh, yeah, Kraken has been moving a lot better and showing that when you just give something time, 100% it will impress you. You just need to work. You just need to work out the bugs. Uh, I'm very glad that people are starting to see uh, the potential of the new Kraken, because I think that the new Kraken has so much potential. Like we saw in the fight with Beta, uh, the damage that it was dealing out in that fight was incredible. Uh, and I think that if everything goes well, Kraken could be a very formidable opponent for Mammoth. That being said, Mammoth is also an incredibly formidable opponent for Kraken. Uh, it's a small, compact robot that unfortunately is showing some self-righting issues. And once if Mammoth gets it over, will it be able to get back over? Uh, so it's definitely going to be a huge test of Kraken's drive, as well as Mammoth's. Like you said, Green, this is a very difficult one to call, and I do not envy anybody who has who has what's the word? Who has like little brackets or whatever going,
Yeah,
little
100%.
fantasy things going, because I wouldn't want to call this.
Yeah, that's a tough one to call and should be a good fight. So,
Mhm.
all right, let's move on to fight number 3. All right, we got a battle of two newcomer robots of Battlebots. The teams aren't really new, because they've been on other teams, but we got a Banshee and Emulsifier. So both robots kind of in a must-win situations. Emulsifier in more of a must-win situation with two losses, but two good losses though, because they did put up a really good fight in both those matchups. Banshee sitting at 1-1, and right now with lost a switchback, but then won against Valkyrie. So a little bit of a different configuration for Emulsifier with this one, coming in with forks for this one to counter the ground game of Banshee, and it worked out pretty well. This one is pretty much about lights out from Emulsifier, and I think another pretty quick ending one. But we got to see Martin Mason commentating this one, which is always awesome to see. So, uh, yeah, shall we share thoughts on this one?
Yes, finally, Emulsifier won a fight. Yes, finally. Yeah, yeah. This is a good. Yes, it wasn't the most impressive win, but yes, finally. I just after those last two fights, especially that last one, just I was waiting for it most part to finally get a win. Yes. And this was pretty good. I mean, it was kind of most part didn't get those big meaty hits where it's known for. The fork kind of didn't help matters, but it did the job. Uh, I think Banshee said on somewhere that I think they used some kind of wrong valve or something and lost all their air before the fight. I can't quite remember. All I know is that they couldn't flip it all during the fight. But this is a pretty kind of boring, but easy quick fight for a Emulsifier, but at least it finally has a KO victory. That's great. Or Banshee. Feel bad for them. You never know. This is pretty good.
Yeah, I'll talk about this quick. So then, this one, Yeah, I was wondering why Banshee's flipper wasn't really working, but what was just said, I think, makes sense as for why the flipper wasn't working. Was hoping to get to see a flip or two from Banshee in this one, just to see how well they worked out some of the bugs from their first two matchups so far, but sadly we'll have to wait another fight to see that stuff in action. But yeah, it was very nice to see Emulsifier get a victory after a very close judge's decision loss to Fusion, and then a fight that they were almost certainly winning in the previous one, but then just got high centered from the looks of it. And it's nice to see them rebound with a victory here, because I indeed believe that if Emulsifier lost this match, I think they probably wouldn't make bracket if that didn't happen. But now I think they got a decent shot at it if they can win their next matchup. So yeah, just pretty definitely wasn't the destruction that we've seen out of Emulsifier as for this fight, but like said, it got the job done and they were able to get the lights out victory in this one and managed to fight number 4.
Mhm.
So
I I guess this fight is really good fight for Emulsifier. Finally, like you said, finally they got a win. Especially seeing as their fights have been like really good so far. Just they've lost on the slightest of margins in both of those fights. And it's great to finally see them get a victory, to, finally see this design uh, really succeed at a heavyweight scale. Uh, you know, it really allows uh, for a case to be made for Emulsifier coming back. And I mean, people really like Emulsifier, and I'm included in that. Uh, that being said, oh my gosh, David, I'm so sorry. I'm David and we're friends. We've battled a lot, and this was a rough fight to watch. Just knowing that, oh man, that's my friend and his robot's getting messed. But what can you do? This is Battlebots, baby.
yeah, it's like Kraken, what Matt Spurk was talking about right before they fought Witch Doctor. He basically friends in the pits, but then it all kind of changes is temp for
Oh,
3 minutes when
100%.
robots get into the ring, basically. And but luck,
Like I
we got
said,
such an incredible fight out of that one. That was one of my favorites of that entire season, to be honest.
oh yeah, the Witch Doctor Kraken fight was mwah, magnifique.
Yeah, yeah. Even though this is off topic, that was one fight I was not expecting to see as a main event, but really glad it was because the quality of that thing was incredible. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, let's talk about their next opponents then. So Banshee, they have a flipper bout coming up, taking on Blip, who is also where both those robots are sitting at 1 and 2 right now. And then Emulsifier's got the undefeated Quantum for their next one, which is going to be a pretty big test for Emulsifier and something pretty different from what Emulsifier's fought so far. So, what are thoughts on these two matchups then?
If I could actually give my thoughts really
Go
quick
right
because
ahead.
I got to use the restroom really quickly. Banshee Blip. This is a tough one to call in my opinion. Especially just because of the rough season that Blip has been having. Uh, Blip's only win so far has been over Tantrum. And arguably they held back in that fight. Um, we we haven't really seen the Blip that we saw last year, and sort of in the same vein as the Banshee Valkyrie fight, if we don't see the same sort of robot that we saw in the previous year, we might end up seeing Banshee pulling out an upset here. They already have one upset to their name. It wouldn't surprise me if they were able to pull out one against Blip. I genuinely did not see this fight, by the way. So this is actual like, huh? I don't actually know the results of this. So this could literally go either way for me. Um, I'm pulling for Banshee. Uh, I just hope that uh, Banshee is able to pull pull themselves a bit together a bit more for this fight. Um, as for Emulsifier Quantum, it's been Control Bot season, baby. Uh,
Yes.
Quantum this year have really like come out swinging, and in my opinion, if if Matt if Matt can't sorry if Matt can't like get good damage on them pretty immediately, this is Quantum's fight to lose. This is like one of the more definitive answers I'm gonna say. I think that this is gonna be Quantum's fight to win. Uh, Quantum has the drive. Quantum has the maneuverability to really get in on Emulsifier and get them around the arena really, really well. Um, as for Emulsifier, yeah, Emulsifier is going to be a very difficult opponent for Quantum, uh, because I know that they are afraid of spinners. They were kind of afraid going into the Black Dragon fight, but you know, if you if you never try, you never know. So, but once again, I think this is more definitive towards Quantum, in my opinion. And I'll be right back.
All right. Darren, you want to talk about these matchups
Yeah,
next?
sure. Let me think here. Banshee Blip, like Alex said, um, can go either way. I mean, Banshee's pretty low. I mean, Blip is also a fairly low robot, so that could be a potential upset there. I really don't know how to call that one. Pulsefire Quantum. That's also a pretty tough one, to be honest. I mean, hmm. It really depends on how low each of the robots are, and like if who gets under who first. I think that's who will win the fight. But it could that's another battle that could really go either way, to be honest. Uh, yeah, I don't really have much of an opinion on that because I really don't know how to call either of these battles. They're really close if you think about them for a while.
Absolutely. So yeah, Banshee and Blip. Banshee on one side definitely has been seems to be having some struggles as for this season. Hopefully they wipe out as many of those gremlins as possible for this one. Then Blip on the other hand, Alex was talking about this one right early on, but like this has been a hard season for Blip. Like they started out the first two fights with, in my opinion, two of the worst possible opponents for Blip, starting off with Endgame and Huge. And then they got the defending champ for the recent one, which they got a pretty solid victory over. So this has been a hard year for Blip, and I'm gonna lean a little more towards Blip on this one, But this one, I think it's going to come down to who can win the ground game. And if Banshee goes flying, how well can Banshee take the flips, basically? Like, we've seen Blip being able to take impacts like that pretty well as for when they fought Hydra last season for the most part, but this would be a good test for both robots, combination of ground game and how well they could take lots of these big flips, basically. As for Emulsifier Quantum, probably a must win for Emulsifier. I think they need a win to be able to get to the bracket, even though
Oh,
their two
definitely.
losses were quality and the victory here was pretty good. I'm gonna lean towards Emulsifier on this one, but like Alex
Mm,
said, they're gonna need to get the shots in pretty quickly because Quantum has been proving very well that you don't need big time ground game to be able to win fights, and yeah, and my big worry for this one is actually we had James and Grant on the podcast a couple weeks
mhm.
ago, and if you're watching this and you didn't see that podcast, they don't have a lot of spares for lots of the big important components, and
Yes, yes.
apparently they even mentioned in the podcast that apparently they attempted to forfeit this match for Emulsifier just to avoid taking big amounts of damage because, like they said on social media, this is the fight they were the most worried about of their four matchups, and it
Yes.
absolutely makes sense. And so I'm just gonna hope I got Emulsifier on winning this one, but I'm gonna fingers crossed we get to see Quantum in that bracket and everything. But like Alex said, if Quantum can avoid the vertical spinner and bite down on the treads or some of that exposed frame, basically, that could be lights out for Emulsifier. And yeah, I think it's going to depend on whether Emulsifier can keep the front towards Quantum, because Quantum, I think, is the faster and the more maneuverable robot, and that's helped them win their fights so far. So it should be a great match
Mhm.
regardless. So, all right, anything else, or should we get to the next one, which I think is Copperhead
Let's
and Mammoth, if I remember right? Yeah,
Copperhead Kraken.
or Copperhead Kraken. Yeah,
Yeah,
Copperhead and Mammoth was a couple seasons ago.
That happened a few seasons ago.
Was a bruh
yeah.
moment. So, yeah, this one. So Copperhead and Kraken. So this one I felt was going to be a decent test for honestly both robots a little bit because while this was one I felt Copperhead was going to win, I felt Kraken was probably better suited to take impacts a bit better than Copperhead's first two opponents. So I was expecting this was going to be a good test of Copperhead's durability, as well as the fact that Kraken has been struggling with drive prior to this one, and this is an important one to have that stuff suited out. So
Mhm.
yeah, so like what was said when we were talking about Kraken's next fight with Mammoth, Kraken moved pretty well in this one, better than their first two matchups, and yeah, they definitely looked better, but it wasn't perfect at least. Copperhead still ended up coming out with a pretty dominant victory, but it was pretty nice to see though, and uh, yeah, good test for both robots. I'll leave the floor to you two.
I guess I'll go first.
Go right ahead.
Right. This was a pretty open shut fight. I mean, Kraken opened with a really great move of trying a box truss, and then turning, and then just continuing to slide into the screws. I thought that was quite hilarious. I mean, I just felt bad for the poor Kraken team. Brock finally drives good, and they're up against Copperhead.
Mm.
I gotta be honest, I don't really see a area where they were gonna win unless they somehow sniped the chains, which I don't think they ever really got close to doing. So that was quite sad. What was the first game? Let's see. According to the Kraken team, the reason that the bot lost drive was that they the sprocket that they were using. They sheared like a set screw, and so a motor was just spinning within the sprocket, so that kind of killed drive on pretty much almost all the wheels,
Oof.
and which sucks. Apparently, they had to. these sprockets they had to actually bore out a bit more because they'd ordered the wrong set, and so they're kind of a spare. So that was great. Weapon was still fully functional. So yeah, they took a lot of damage according to their Instagram. Uh, yeah, it's quite impressive. Like a bunch of stuff is sheared. The weapon blade was bent significantly, despite being like half-inch AR 500, which is quite scary. It's a pretty pretty dominating performance from Copperhead. They're looking vicious this season. And yeah, poor Kraken. Just can't just I feel so bad for them. They just have had a rough run of it.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, this has been a really, really, really good season for Copperhead. They're showing some of that dominance that they showed back in season 5, where you're really seeing the damage that that robot is capable of putting out. And you know what? Yeah, of course Kraken's weapon blade got bent. It's Copperhead's drum. uh that thing hits like a truck, as we have seen. Not to mention, this is something of a battle between two compact robots, and of the two, Copperhead is just the most difficult thing to hit. It is so small. You really don't get an idea for how small it is until you like see it in front of you, and it's just like, this is 250 pounds. Are you sure? uh, it is really small and just really well built. And Luke is driving it like he stole it. He is doing really well this season. Uh, as unfortunate as it is to see yet another Kraken loss, uh, we are seeing the new Kraken, you know, finding its legs. Uh, as I've said in the past, with any new design, there are going to be bugs. And, you know, sometimes they can be worked out earlier, sometimes they take a while to figure out. And sometimes it's just a full-on crapshoot. That's just, once again, that's BattleBots for you. Any number of small things can influence the outcome of a fight. And hearing that they just lost a set screw on one side, uh, sorry, uh, just hearing that they lost a set screw on one side, like that's incredibly common. That's more common than I think anybody realizes. And sometimes you can't plan for those small hardware failures. Good on them for continuing to try and get back into the fight no matter what. Like, they were constantly like gah 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 pushing to get back into it. Unfortunately, they lost kind of convincingly, but we're still seeing the scrappy Kraken that we know. It's just it has a lot more moving parts.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely agree. Kraken definitely looked better in this one because like the driving glitches are for the most part sorted out. I think they addressed this in their damage report, but I think it's just they need some driving practice with it from the sounds of it, which yeah,
Yeah.
totally acceptable and all that stuff. But yeah, we saw a couple more bugs kind of occurring, and like Alex said, with a new design like Krakens for this year, there are going to be gremlins. And yeah, it looked like self-reading was kind of a problem later on in the fight. Looked a little bit unbalanced, at least, when they were
Mhm.
swinging the arm back and forth. But yeah, hopefully we'll see Kraken sort out lots of those things, and we'll get to see a good fight out of it from Mammoth. And yeah, also
Mhm.
like what Alex said, Luke's been doing a phenomenal job driving the robot, like, and just so people watching this are aware of this, this isn't his first season driving Copperhead, because he drove half their matchups from last season, and yeah, and Robert Cowan
He
and
knows that
even
robot
Brandon
very
Zielinski,
well.
when he had made appearance on the podcast last season, mentioned just how great of a driver he is, and he's really showcasing that this season. And this was another dominant performance from Copperhead, and yeah, they got a big fourth fight coming, and should be
Mhm.
should be another great test for Copperhead. And same thing with Kraken, like they want any shot at making the tournament. This is a must-win showdown against Mammoth, and it'll be hopefully we'll get to see the continued improvement of the new Kraken design, because like Alex said, I believe as well that the new Kraken has a lot of potential, and definitely once they get all the problems sorted out, I bet we'll get to see a really powerful Kraken, similar to what we were seeing a couple seasons ago when it took out Witch Doctor and a couple other big opponents. So yeah,
Mhm.
let's go ahead and talk about their next opponents. We already talked about Kraken and Mammoth, so we'll talk about Copperhead and Ripperoni, which I'm really looking forward to that one. And yeah, let's go ahead and hear your thoughts on it, both of you.
Let me think. Uh, Copperhead will probably take this. I mean, yeah, Ripperoni has the whole anti-gyro thing, and they've done pretty well so far. But I think, knowing what I know about how bettering drum engagement work, I think the lower drum wins like front to front engagements, and I honestly think Copperhead is just a bit more wieldy. I mean, Ripperoni's a bit more unwieldy despite the whole anti-gyro thing. So I think Copperhead's probably gonna take this because it has the better weapon and it's also been more tested. It has just better drive. So yeah, that's yeah, the open check case. I think, in my opinion, at least.
Mhm. Uh, I wouldn't I wouldn't count out Ripperoni just yet, because uh even though Ripperoni are a rookie team, they are even though Ripperoni is a rookie robot, they are not a rookie team by any means. They have Fred from Valkyrie, they have Anna and I believe Austin have both worked on Uppercut. Uh, this is a team that knows how to build verts, and Ripperoni is a Ripperoni is almost a distant cousin of the Great Uppercut. Uh, I would not. I would not count them out so quickly, especially given their victory against Endgame. Uh, yes, Endgame got caught in the kill saw slots, but also they were knocked out pretty definitively. Uh, the most the most concerning thing that I think Ripperoni has in this fight is, yes, the drum, but also just how much of a brick Copperhead is. If they they will need probably more hits to knock out Copperhead, and really do like significant damage to Copperhead. But also, you know, knowing Luke. For those of you who don't know, Luke has a lot of experience driving robots with unusual locomotion. He has won 12-pound events with his gyro walker Kitten Mittens. Uh, has also run a Beetleweight by the name of Rickety Cricket, which is also a gyro walker. Has entered Norwalk with a one-wheeled horizontal by the name of Troll Toll, and just has a whole bunch of different experimental weird ideas. And in my opinion, the people who know how to drive weird know how to drive well. And this will 100% be a driving match between two of the best drivers in the sport, in my opinion. This can go either way. Once again, this is going to be a fight that the audience is going to win.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm predicting whatever episode this is. I think this could be the lead-off episode of the match because I think I'm really looking forward to this one, and I think this is going to be, in my opinion, I think this is going to be Copperhead's biggest test of the season so far, despite
Mhm.
Ripperoni being a newcomer robot. Because, like Alex said, like Ripperoni's coming off of two high momentum victories with those wins against Endgame and Hijinks, and
Mhm.
yeah, even if Endgame started off the fight with bad luck, getting stuck in the kill slots, like and Ripperoni at least kept the fight going and still managed to win quite a few big impacts, even against the big fort game that Endgame brought for them in that match. And yeah, and then the hijinks was dominant on a whole nother level for Ripperoni. And this
Mhm.
is another big test for Ripperoni too. So as for this one, like this is one I'm gonna lean towards Copperhead on this one because I'm predicting we're gonna see a lot of head-on action between these two robots, and I think Copperhead's probably gonna win most of those exchanges. But like Alex said, I wouldn't count out Ripperoni because Ripperoni's also been looking really good this season. I would probably consider both these robots to be locks to make the bracket because I think both these two robots have had fight quality so far to put them in the bracket. But I think whoever wins this will just have a higher seed basically in the bracket, and
Oh yeah,
yeah, so yeah, yeah,
for
because like I think this
sure.
is going to be a big durability test for Copperhead to see how well they could take big spinner attacks because from
Mhm.
robots like Ripperoni, because we saw like in the Witch Doctor fight that Copperhead didn't take some of those spinner attacks very well, at least, and this could be a similar case to that if Ripperoni can get the right shots on Copperhead and all that
Well,
stuff.
it'll also be a very big durability test for
Oh
Ripperoni,
yeah, that too.
in my opinion, because yeah, they fought very big spinners in Endgame and Hijinks, but with those sort of more dominant victories, they haven't really had an opponent that has given them as much of a challenge, I guess, as Gruff.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So I think this will be a very big proving fight for Ripperoni.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I should have said that this would be a durability test for Ripperoni too, as much as it is for Copperhead as well, because, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Endgame's a big spinner, Copperhead's also a big spinner, so, great matchup for Ripperoni and the qualifiers, and possibly ended on a really high note. So this should be a good match, and I'm really looking forward to that one. So,
Mm-hmm.
all right, let's move on to the next one, a good one. So,
Oh my gosh! I know
yeah,
that robot.
yeah, I wonder where you've seen that robot. So, I'm
In my
guessing you've probably
nightmares.
seen it on
No.
TV or something. So maybe you saw it at Norwalk.
Maybe.
Yeah. So next
I can't
fight,
remember.
which another one that there'll be some big discussion over, along with the fact that we have a team member here. So Horizon and Shatter. So this one, must-win fight for both robots. Both robots were sitting at 0-2 in this one, and it was going to be a tough matchup for both robots. And I think we got a great showing. We got a great showing from both robots here, and yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the fight a little bit. So
Okay, I just like to say, looking at a replay of the fight now, Alex, I absolutely love the taco hat. It is just, I love it. It's just perfect. Whose idea was that there was the hat? Was that your idea?
The taco hat was actually that was picked up at like Party City uh during like an errand run by one of our very gracious sponsors, Mary Catherine Carr. Uh Anyone in the Battlebots community knows her. She is an absolute sweetheart, and she sponsored us for this season. Uh and oh my goodness, the fact they picked up they were able to pick up the taco hat, and also like the little taco pinata that was attached to like basically a free throw wedge. It no, not a cat toy wedge. Uh Mad Catter's little long mini bot cat toy.
yep.
In SoCal, that robot is known as Free Throw, uh, and one of its earlier configurations had like an aluminum wedge, and that was just kind of at Alon's house. I took that to BattleBots because long thing funny, uh, and I eventually was like, oh wait, we're fighting Shatter. We have tacos. Hammer.
That's
I
amazing.
I
Uh,
love the thought process.
I also wrote "get dunked on it. I don't think anyone saw that, but we gotta keep planting those globetrotter seeds. Um,
Maybe we'll see Globetrotter in a future season.
100%. There's a fully functioning globetrotter in California right now.
I need to tell
Oh,
Zaza
really?
that because he doesn't believe that there's a fully functional Globetrotter.
There is a fully functional globetrotter. I promise. Um, but yeah, the taco hat was a gift from a sponsor, and uh I guess that ended up being I'm glad that it's become, something of a uh identifier.
Yeah.
But yeah, talk about the fight. I'm very interested in hearing what you guys have to say.
Well, the fight was a little the weapon worked. That was good. The arm wasn't really spinning that fast, despite both spinners
Mhm.
working. I thought we working reasonably well. The arm really wasn't turning much though. It was like a bearing issue or something.
Um I hmm. That's actually that's actually an issue that I'm not entirely sure about myself. My best guess is because of because Shatter was on us a lot during that fight. Uh, we we were having some issues like with our weapons hitting Shatter and like going the other way. So it was taking energy to get the arm spinning the right way. Which, once again, sometimes it's difficult to get the thing working the way that you want it to. You'll probably see a better explanation of that in the Sundown Rundown for this fight. But as of right now, I'm still kind of like, I don't know why that happened either. when you're dealing with a weapon that is so reliant on physics, the possibility of that very same physics working against you is also a fully possible thing.
Absolutely. So
I'll
go ahead and share my takes on this one. Then nice to see Horizon worked pretty well in this one. Like, I definitely agree that like it didn't look like the arm was spinning as quickly as like what it was, how fast it was spinning when in your video from the test box from the monsoon recap thing. But regardless, it still worked well and it did quite a bit of damage to the plastic bits of Shatter right there. Even if that is a little more cosmetic, but it still worked really well, and it was nice to see. Like, if there's anything I really wanted to see out of Horizon this season, I just want to see a fight where that thing works basically, and it exceeded my expectations because it got the win in this one too, which is incredible to see, and nice to see Shatter get some blows in. I was kind of I kind of was expecting Shatter was going to have a little bit of trouble with Horizon in this one, landing hits with the hammer, because Horizon, like, it's got Horizon has like the most interesting geometry of most robots and Battlebots, and so I was knew that it was probably going to be difficult for Shatter to land shots on Horizon, and even though they got quite a few in there, like, they were definitely having trouble with that, and yeah, Driver took great advantage of lots of that stuff, and
oh yeah. I guess to talk a little bit about the fight, from our perspective, yeah, arm didn't quite work fully all the time, but having that arm on a dead shaft arguably really worked for us in this fight. Especially in the what is it, the one hit where we like send them over to the over to the shelf.
Yeah, you kind of
that was
tossed them on there.
that was
nice.
amazing that you managed to get a hit that big on Shatter.
Yeah, and the thing was, that was because, like, one of the weapon sides hit Shatter and rebounds off. Shatter like goes for a hit and then whiffs it because our arm is going in the opposite direction now, and then smacks it on the butt with the other side of the arm. And because we have a lot of spinning mass, like, our drive base is 72 pounds. The rest of our weight is like in the arm. There's a lot of spinning mass, so even if it's not spinning incredibly fast, that's still like 150 something pounds smacking your robot. Which I think that's really cool.
I was rewatching that hit actually.
Yeah, Sunrise Sunrise also proved to be very helpful to us, even though we definitely sacrificed him very early on.
Pour one out for my boy.
Pour one out for my boy. Sunrise, or Timeline, whatever you want to call him, he, or it, sorry, me gendering robots. Sunrise really helped us out in this fight because I think, as you saw in the opening moments of the fight, Sunrise goes toward Shatter, and Shatter like kind of strafes to the side to kind of get out of the way a little bit, or like, I don't know what they did, but they ended up side facing, you know? And really, Sunrise allowed us to get up to speed. And we were able to get up to speed a lot more in this fight than we had been previously. And that's because our drive worked. And you can see just how nimble Horizon actually is when everything is working. A lot of people said that we were running away. In my opinion, we weren't. We kind of were just driving better than we had ever driven before.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that when we talked about the decision, but yeah, keep going.
I guess I'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about the decision, but I know that in the moment it looked like we had finally pulled something out of our hat. We had finally pulled like a working funny bridge out of out of nowhere, and all of the excitement, all of the hype behind Horizon coming into this season was finally paying off, because it's like, oh my gosh, it works, it does the stupid thing, and against an incredible machine like Shatter, even like.
Yeah.
They aren't to be taken lightly. They are a 2-time tournament contender with a top 8 finish to their name. That's not something to take lightly. And we didn't come into the fight taking them lightly. We made sure that our very squishy electronics were protected from those overhead hits. Shout out to both Mammoth and Huge for helping us get our hands on some Tegris, so we could survive this fight. If it honestly, if it weren't for those two teams, we would have. There would have been a very funny fire happening. You would have seen
like a fire.
You would have seen a carnival ride burn to the ground.
That's what I was thinking of. That would be incredible, but
it would have been 100% incredible. It would have been like the Mecha Rampage fire that happened.
Dang, yeah. Blast from the past.
My favorite Rumble of all time.
Oh yeah. What an incredible spectacle that was.
Oh yes.
And the just like the after fight shot of all of us just celebrating. We weren't celebrating because we thought we had won. We were celebrating because, oh my god, we we had finally pulled it off. The robot did the thing and did it well for 3 full minutes against a bot like Shatter. And I we were just over the moon. Like that that iconic shot of me like friggin' sobbing, like grabbing the taco hat off of my teammate, off of Justin. Uh just that was just because, oh my gosh, this thing worked. This thing worked well, and we're going to have like this amazing win to our names possibly. And if not, we at least, pulled off a friggin' carnival in the ring,
Yeah, even if you didn't win the fight, it would have been a really high quality loss. Right
Oh
there,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
Shatter was the one to pull it off. Like, yeah, it was like Lars and I have been talking about this in DMs because yeah, Horizon got brought up at one point, and yeah, we
I
both
believe it.
agreed that like it would make our day if we got to see at least one Horizon fight where Horizon just worked like it intended, and we really got that in this fight. And
Yeah. I'm so glad that you guys were able to see that.
oh yeah, like I was super glad it was such a quality matchup right there, and it was awesome to see. And
I'm very interested in talking about the decision, by the way.
yeah, I figured we'd talk about that next. So yeah, last time we got to see the first appealed decision, at least as for the televised bunch, because I heard
Yeah.
Shreddit Bro and Ominous, which we'll be talking about next, was actually the first one, but this one ended up getting appealed. Well, this one ended. Shatter chose to appeal this judge's decision as well. After this one, after we saw a split, very close judge's decision right there, and yeah, Derrin, you and I want to share our takes on it, what we thought of the judge's decision. Then we can hear Alex's take on it.
Radio. I thought the decision was. Yeah, I thought it was correct. When I looked at it, um, like, uh, yeah, I thought it was pretty correct. Again, it was a really close fight. Like, you did a lot of damage, and Shatter also did some damage. But I think Shatter lost it a bit when it seemed like it was having issues driving. I think near the end or throughout the fight, really wasn't taking advantage of going in for hits. And you guys, I guess, showed more control, and I think you guys deserve the win. But I can also see how Shatter might have thought they might have won as well, because again, it was really, really close.
Yeah. Yeah, so my takes on it, I also agreed with the judge's decision, but I can 100% see why Adam Wrigley chose to appeal this one and why other fans surely thought Shatter should have won this one. So, how I
Mm-hmm.
personally would have scored it, start off with aggression. I felt Shatter won that category. Like, yeah, what when Alex brought up that the whole running away thing, like basically, how else is Horizon supposed to get those weapons up to full speed? Basically, I think that was basically just the idea behind it, at least, and why I don't think you're exactly running away because you're like scared of Shatter or something like that. Like horizontal spinners, like they're not going to be able to get up to full speed without some space, and that's kind of what was going right there. And it is part of the judging criteria rules on aggression, where like it shouldn't count as like negative aggression if they're just running away to get the weapons up to full speed. Basically, it's not something I exactly the most agree with exactly, but like it's why I would give Horizon an aggression point right there. Then
Mm-hmm.
Control, which is kind of like the next easy category for me, I edged Horizon on that one because like other than like the last like 15 seconds of the match, just Shadow was just struggling to get a lot of control there in that one, and
Mm-hmm.
just struggling to land hits with the hammer. And I felt Horizon was taking pretty well advantage, including that shot that sent Shadow to the upper deck was incredible, and that's why I would probably edge Shatter or edge Horizon on Control. damage, that's the one that kind of got hard for me, because, like, both robots did quite a bit of damage there, because, like Adam said after their interview right there, looked like one of Horizon Spinners was down. Same thing with the Minibot or holes in the top armor, obviously. But, and then Shatter, there was damage to the front and side armor, as you can kind of see in the image right there. And Darren brought this up, but looks like Shatter was struggling with drive for a small portion of the match. Not sure if they were high centered or something like that, or just stuck on debris. My guess would probably be the second one, because it looked like they were driving just fine following that. But I chose to give the edge to Horizon on that one. But I think that one is kind of one that I really conflict with most on this one, and why I could absolutely see why people might think that Shatter should have won this one. So yeah, like, once again, great fight from both robots. It's like, it was going to be a quality one, win or lose, in my opinion, and I can 100% see why Shatter chose to try to appeal this decision, and why other fans might believe Shatter won this one. So yeah, Alex, you want to share your thoughts on the decision then? Because I'm kind of curious
Oh,
what it's
100%.
like for, like, the builders' perspectives, like, in some sort of situation like this.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Once Farouk had like kind of announced that, we had won, he was like, "Oh my gosh. What?" Like I'm not going to lie. I thought that we had it. I thought that we had that win. And you know, it was 100% a close fight, and if I'm honest, I can see where some of the damage thoughts are going to come from. Because, yeah, Sunrise did get kind of ganked, and that was primarily our fault. We smacked Sunrise into Shatter, and, Sunrise is about, I want to say, 3 pounds, maybe a little bit more. It is long, but it is light, and its drive sides weren't going to hold up to two 250-pound robots sandwiching it. And we were kind of the aggressor in killing Sunrise. That is not a question in my opinion, but that does count as damage against us. As for one of the spinners going down, I will go. I go into a bit more detail about this in the Sundown Rundown, but like about a minute before we had to go in, we noticed that there was a clip holding the motor bell in place, and that was like rubbing onto the motor housing, which was causing a fair deal of friction on that side. But because it was so close to the fight, and it was also pretty late at that point, and it was just to give you some context, this was like the day after our fight with Monsoon. So we were like in the middle of literally putting all of our electronics into a robot that wasn't split into, and making sure it worked, and like making sure everything was okay. And so like at that point we were just like, screw it, we're gonna run it until it breaks. And that's kind of what we did. That weapon broke by itself, but also, once again, it does count as damage against us. And I do not hold that against the judges. They are judging based off of what they see. That being said, the judge's decision was very nearly a unanimous one. If you look at the scorecards, you see that Derek made some last minute changes to his rulings. What looked like a 3 for damage for us and a 2 for damage for Shatter was changed for a 2 for us and a 3 for Shatter. Uh, I think his regular numbers are like still, if you can even see this.
Yep, can see.
His regular numbers are. I also have blur on here, so it's probably going to mess this up incredibly. But you can sort of see how this. Oh, whoops. Pardon me. I'm a boomer. You can see how. I think you can see how this 5 was originally a 6, and this 6 was originally a 5. And I don't blame it for being this close. Once again, this was an incredibly close fight. I do not blame Adam for appealing because I understand from his perspective where he's coming from. Like, this has been a tough season for Shatter. Losing a really big fight to Huge and losing another really big fight to Beta, both in a row. That's that's gonna make anyone feel like, oh well, at least I've got a great strength of schedule, and at least my next fight is going to be against a rookie that doesn't work. And going into this fight, how they have builder polls this season, and they've been showing those. Going into this fight, everybody had Shatter winning. There was like a little Discord that captains were on, and it was like who's gonna vote for Shatter winning and who's gonna vote for Horizon winning. Every single person in that Discord voted for Shatter to win, except one person.
Do you know who that one person was, out of curiosity?
That was us.
Oh, yes. Oh.
It's our driver. Our driver voted for us to win. And just to, I think that also kind of reflects the general feeling of everybody coming into this fight, where it's like, oh, this is just an easy win for Shatter. Horizon is bad robot. But I'm very glad that we were able to at least kind of show off the things that Horizon is capable of. The feeling of the appeal in the moment kind of sucked. It I'm not gonna like sit here and say like, oh, we were totally fine with it. Like, we felt that
I kind of feel it would be a nervous feeling, kind of, if that's what you're trying to think about. 'Cause
yeah,
that's kind of what your captain kind of looked that way. Hey, Valkyrie, their captain looked that way, at least. And
I mean, it's not a comfortable feeling. It's definitely not a comfortable feeling, especially when you feel like you've shown like the best that your robot is capable of doing. And it's just like, no, well, we think that it didn't, you know, not to crap on Adam. I love Adam so much. And I think he was fully justified uh, in uh, calling for the appeal because, well, he was going to go 0-3. He may as well have, tried to pull out a win here. This was a fight where either of us were going to go 0-3. Our backs were against the wall, and we were going to, do whatever we could to pull out a victory. And this is just, another thing that BattleBots has added for us to, try and still eke out victories. Once again, no ill will towards Shatter. They're an incredible team, and like we are honored. We are honored to have fought them and have, had our first win against uh, such a beautiful and incredible machine as Shatter. Um, you know,
100%.
we couldn't be happier.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, I am absolutely agreeing with a lot of what you said, because yeah, no shame to Adam for trying to appeal this decision, because combination of what you said, that Shatter was about to fall to 0-3, and it was just that close, that much of a nail biter of a decision, and yeah, that's one of those fights where I felt it really could have gone either direction, and yeah, it's sad to see Shatter at 0-3, but like this was a quality loss, and like you said, it's been a hard season for Shatter because like start off with Huge, where Huge I think is one of the worst possible opponents for Shatter,
Oh
or
God, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and then Beta is a difficult opponent itself for Shatter, and then it's got Ominous, which I'm looking forward to that one.
Mm.
That's an Omni wheel drive battle right there, and yeah, should we quick talk about their next matchups then? Horizon's last fight is going to be Triton, and then Shatter's got Omnis, as I've mentioned here. So, Derrin,
Oh,
you
wait,
want
so
to
to
mention
dictate.
your picks for those?
All right, let me
Yeah, you
think.
guys go ahead. I'm gonna run away really quickly.
Fine. Horizon versus Triton. Oh, poor. I, it honestly really depends because Horizon could snipe the wheels from the sides, but Triton, it has potential with that giant weapon of it. So really don't know. Really depends on how well both of them work. Versus Ominous. Oh boy, we get an Omni drop battle. It's gonna be slipping, sliding all over the place. Side, that's gonna be kind of fun to watch. All the bots trying to drift around each other. Um, I think Ominous might have a good chance here. I think I gotta be honest. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah,
Another really depends on how well the robots work, to be honest. Because if Ominous, I'll talk about this more a bit later, because when we get to their fight, which is actually next, but fix their issues they had in their fight here, I think maybe they have a chance. Don't know.
yeah. I'll probably start with Shatter and Ominous here. Fight number 3 from Ominous is actually coming next week, where Ominous is going to fight Switchback. So I think it'll be interesting to see how well Ominous works out the glitches and gremlins from their fight with Shredder, which we'll be talking about next. I'm leaning towards Shatter on this one. I think there's a lot of juicy spots on Ominous for Shatter to nail with that hammer, and the spinner just hasn't convinced me yet on Ominous. Looks like it's been teething problems from the sounds of it, and hopefully they work those out for the switchback fight, and maybe I'll reverse my prediction as of right now. For Horizon and Triton, so basically with this one, Triton's another one we haven't seen fight number 3 yet. Their fight with Glitch is coming soon. I don't know if it's next week or not, but
Well, it
with
should
that one,
be.
in my opinion, I don't think we've seen the full potential of Triton yet, because I don't know if it's the spin up time or teething issues or something like that, but Triton just doesn't seem to be landing the shots that we're very well known for. But with this one, I think we're going to see a lot of weapon on weapon warfare between these two, and I think it's going to come down to who can work better, at least in this one, and like whoever can hold up to the hits and dish out the damage better between the two of them. I think right now I'm gonna lean towards Triton on this one because of the massive horizontal spinner, but I could absolutely because like, but then of course Triton's been having lots of issues of their own, and if some of those issues aren't worked out, I think Horizon could definitely take this one too. Because Lars and I were even talking about this actually earlier today when we announced we were talking about the parts that we're going for from the Horizon auctions on the two that I'm taking home from this fight. And yeah, we talked about how we would both love to see a 2-2 Horizon possibly make the bracket and everything. And yeah, so Alex, you want to share your takes on these matchups?
Yes, of course. Uh, I'll start off with Shatter and Ominous first. Uh, like Derrin said, it's going to be a big fun Omni Wheel fight. Uh, I think Ominous is definitely not to be underrated. Uh, as we will talk about in the Shred It Bro fight, that spinner is capable of doing a lot of damage, and like they have they have had some success with Ominous in the what is it? I believe the UK events.
Yeah, that sounds
Uh,
right.
they've had some uh, experience with Ominous over in the UK. So 100% Ominous is not to be underestimated here. But also uh, Adam with his back against the wall uh, is not to be underestimated. You saw during our fight, just how aggressive uh, Shatter would get when they got close to us. Like in that final stretch of the match, like we were close to them and they were just like. So just knowing the season that they've had, uh, and how much any win will uh, affect their tournament chances. Uh, you know, I think they're going to be coming out swinging in this fight. They aren't going to take any prisoners here. As for Horizon versus Triton, this is 100% a glass cannon fight. Uh, as we saw in the fight with Copperhead for Triton, its back is very, very exposed. And one of the things that we are designed to do is, get those unexpected hits on the back of a machine. And as we saw in the fight with Shatter, if you hit us, we will spank you. uh, and honestly, I think that this fight could go either way. We haven't fully seen the potential of Triton, and I'm really excited for people to see its full potential because it has so much potential. I'm excited for people to see its fight with Glitch. I'm excited for people to just continue to see this robot fight because Brad is an incredible driver. He's been doing this for longer than most of Team Horizon has been alive, and in addition to this team being some of my best friends in combat robots, period. You know, with Shay being on Triton, uh, I would joke with Shay just like I don't know how I'm going to act during this fight. I just imagine us just like just holding each other in the middle and just being like, "Oh God, God, I don't want to look." But like it's it's going to be a matter of who breaks the glass first. Uh, Horizon has a bit more of a weak drive, and so does Triton. Uh, whichever gets the right damage at the right time will win.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's kind of how I believe this fight's going to go, and hopefully we'll get an exciting fourth fight from both those robots. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, anything else on this match? Anything else from you, Alex?
Um, if anything, just thanks, thanks everybody for like hanging in there with us. We know that our first two fights were rough, and uh, the AMA that we had on Reddit the day after this fight uh, was just so incredibly positive and just like, oh my gosh, how great was it to see Horizon working close to how it was intended to, or like someone there are like two Horizon appreciation threads on Reddit at the moment where it's like, let's stop talking about Riptide and talk about Josh who radiates likability, um, or like the literal Horizon appreciation thread started by user person Izzle. Like we see these things and we very much appreciate the positive discourse that's been coming out. We have played so much off the negative discourse, and we've had a lot of fun with that. But it is so there's just something about being able to show the fans what this silly funny bridge is capable of. Uh, One thing that was cut from the interview, uh, from Josh's post fight interview, which I really wish had aired, but whatever. Was I think it was like Chris just like asking Josh how he felt after the win, and Josh very deadpan said, when a carnival ride kills a person, that is tragedy. But when a carnival ride kills a 250-pound combat robot, that is comedy. And I think that sums that whole fight up so beautifully. Uh, and I just want people to know that. I just want people to know that little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I go right ahead, go on. Just know that I'm incredibly grateful for all the love that has been thrown Horizon's way.
Oh yeah, because I'm sure yeah, especially to myself and many others. Like I mentioned Lars a couple times, it was awesome for us to get to see that thing work like it was intended and get a victory out of it too, which is a whole nother thing. And yeah, and I've already mentioned this before and mentioned this other thing a couple of times, but want a piece of Horizon Shatter from that fight?
Yeah,
eBay.
yeah, yeah.
Yep. And
Well,
I've already mentioned I've got
if
some stuff
you,
I'm taking home from this fight,
amen.
so I'm looking forward
If
to it.
you want to talk about getting parts, hit me up.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, like
I have a lot of them in my garage. Please get them out of my garage.
maybe I
I
should have
don't have
asked
much
for an
money.
extra. Maybe I should have asked for like a wheel or something as well. uh,
We've got a few of those.
what are you about to say, Darren?
I don't have any money, so I
Oh,
can't buy
If
parts.
BVN was here, he probably would have. He probably would have. He would probably would have asked if he could pay $5 for a part or something, or or the other option is it's actually his birthday today, and so yeah, happy birthday
oh,
BVN if you're watching this video. But
happy birthday,
he
BBN.
probably would have suggested that he probably would have asked to see if he could get a part as a birthday present or something. Which in a
Mm,
way, it's a birthday present for me as well because my birthday's actually this week too. So
well, there you go. Happy birthday, Green.
yep, getting 2 top armor pieces. So let's go.
Look at that. Proud of you. Anyways,
Yeah, let's move on to next fight.
let's move on to Whiplash. I mean, Shred It Bro.
All right, Shred It Bro and Ominous,
Uh,
which I feel like this discussion probably won't take too long exactly, or at least not as long as 2 of the other matchups we've talked about so far here.
yeah.
Shred It Bro and Ominous, who are kind of in a must-win situation at least both ways. Even though Shred It Bro did get a victory, probably a lot to prove in this match. Ominous kind of the
Yeah.
same thing, even though Ominous did get a bad case of Claw Viper for their first fight, who has been looking great so far this season.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I felt there was a lot of playoff implications with this fight, and I think there's still some mystery about both these robots so far, even after seeing this match. So, yeah, I'll leave the floor to both of you.
So, fight starts. Ominous spins up pretty immediately. Strider Pro kind of goes out. Weapon kind of is like. Then it spins up finally after going the wrong way. Kind of turn around. Ominous gets a little hit. Strider Pro turns around. Then bang! One hit sends Ominous going kick flipping over and bouncing across the arena. Self's right. And then both of their weapons kind of die. And then the fight kind of just straight downhill. The reason Ominous's weapon died is because they were using a pretty big ESC for their weapon, and a big hit mushroomed the sides of the controller in such a way that it still functioned, but kind of triggered an error if the weapon was spun up too fast, so they could only spin up very slowly, and the ESC is also kind of mushroom and hitting against like the chassis, so it was contacting metal, so it was kind of failing and killing power. So yeah, it's a bit of a tight fit with a hub motor. Who to funk it? And they did fix it for later fights, so that shouldn't be an issue in later fights. But I think the best part of this fight wasn't even fight. It's the fact that the fight was so boring. They had to cut in a promo for the main event, a fight that hasn't happened yet. All the fight's still going on. It's just that is the ultimate disrespect they could have showed. Like, please don't change the channel. We're getting to, here's why you should stay. We're gonna have an epic main event. Please just bear with us while these two fail the robot properly. Go.
Yeah,
This
because
was
like I was gonna talk about that. Like that just brought me so many like ESPN, ABC vibes when it comes to like a college football game day or basketball game day. Like basically like you're in the third quarter, the fourth quarter of a game, and they'll hype up the game that's happening next. It was kind of like this was the case right there. Like although I'm sure they did it for the reasons that Derrin just mentioned right there, and I get what people are talking about when they're calling that a little disrespectful, at least. But like, I kind of understand why they did it. But like, in a way, I admired it, and I found it so funny, to be honest. And like, yeah, no disrespect towards the Ominous or the Shreddit Bro teams at all, at least. And but yeah, I'll quick share my takes on it. Then we'll hear from Alex on this one. So I'm assuming Alex probably has stuff to say about this. Yeah, like I gotta say, I hope we get to see improved Shreddit Bro for their 2+ matchups they have left at least, just because Greg Munson mentioned at the podcast that like this was gonna be a real prove it season for Evan, just because lots of the previous 2 seasons were kind of lackluster, and we're kind of seeing repeats of that so far this season. I absolutely believe Shreddit Bro has the potential to do really well because, as we've seen in its first 2 matchups, like that drum spinner hits really hard. Heard the drive is like somewhat okay at least. It's just there's just so many there are just bugs that are just preventing them from showing that full potential so far, and I think that's really holding Shreddit Bro back. And yeah, and yeah, and then Ominous, of course, took that first hit pretty well for the well. I don't know exactly about that because it looked like they were having teething troubles with the vertical spinner from what we heard, but the drive worked really well in that fight, and they got a few nice glancing blows in. But the Ominous is another one where I think there's just a big cloud of mystery around it, and but then we still got 2 fights from both these robots coming. And later on, Ominous's next fight is not Shatter, though. That next opponent thing is wrong. It should actually be Switchback. But yeah, so I think with both robots, I think there's just a big cloud of mystery around them right now, and I hope we'll get to see improvements from both those robots for their fight 3 and 4 matchups and whatever other fights they have next. Because yeah, I just feel the quality of fights just hasn't been there, at least for either of these robots so far, and I think this fight kind of shows it a little bit. But like once again, no offense to the builders, I think there's potential in both these robots. It's just I think
Oh
there
yeah.
are just bugs that just haven't shown that kind of potential yet. So
And well, like Darren had mentioned, Shreddit Bro did. Oh, and here's a cat.
Kitty.
Yeah.
that's a big resemblance of when one of the kittens back in my hometown, came onto camera during that podcast.
Goodness gracious. Shreddit Bro did hit Ominous really hard, and like once again, like I had mentioned in the Sundown Rundown for the Horizon Shreddit Bro fight, Shreddit Bro hits. Shreddit Bro hits like a gosh dang train. Uh, Probably even better than the actual Pain train, but you know we never really saw that hit. Anyways, sorry. No shade. No shade. Just tea here, honey. Um, Shred it, bro. I want you to drive. I want you to drive. Please just drive. Um, it. I know. I know so much about Shred It Bro's future, and I cannot say anything. And I feel like even me alluding to it might ruffle some feathers, but Shred It Bros like potential is massive. Like absolutely massive. Um I think the fact that they tried to appeal a unanimous judge's decision is hilarious. But it's so difficult when you like unconditionally love a team, but also see the ridiculousness that's going on. Like I unapologetically love Evan Arias. He's a fantastic human being and a fantastic driver. And once Shred It Bro gets its poop in a group, it's gonna work. It's gonna work fantastically. It just needs to it needs to find it needs to find its it needs to find its happy, basically. um I thought it was kind of funny the fact that they showed uh the fact that they showed the Shred It Bro fight after Horizon's first win, uh just to sort of remind everybody, hey, this robot just beat Shatter, but don't forget where it came from.
Yep.
And this also sort of like puts into perspective the fact that all of the fight nights happen within the span of a week. Like every single fight that we've been seeing so far has happened in a week. And so a lot of what we're going through is stuff that we're trying to figure out in, once again, the span of a week. It's stretched out through a long period of time, but there's no way that some of these issues can fully be solved in a week. But I believe in Shred It Bro. I think Shred It Bro is going to pull something out, and everyone will see like, oh my gosh. Even though Battlebots is like a 2-hour long show, there is still stuff that they can't fit. Which, does sort of make for the need to, if there's going to be a fight like Shred It Bro Ominous, then well, we may as well do some split screen. I wouldn't have been surprised or even offended had they done that with Shred It Bro Horizon. Absolutely 100% talk about Hypershock versus Whiplash, because that's so much of a more interesting fight than what was going on in Shred It Bro Horizon. I feel bad that it happened to two teams that I have a lot of respect and a lot of love for, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. This is TV, baby.
Yeah.
I guess I'll sort of talk about my thoughts for the next fight, just to kind of keep this ball moving, so we aren't here forever. We already talked a little bit about Ominous Shatter, so I'm not gonna talk about that. But
Ominous Switchback, actually.
That's Ominous Switchback. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I put in the wrong next opponent. That's my fault.
I should have remembered, but like I said, I'm having a tough time remembering
that's fine.
what happened this late in the game. Ominous Switchback. Switchback has been having something of a better season this year, I would say. Their loss to Death Roll is certainly not a bad loss whatsoever. I think their win against Banshee really showed their improvement over the past year. I think their Egg Beater is a really dangerous weapon, when it's not split in half. And the design is proving to be a shockingly good one. Greg drives the heck out of that thing, and I think it's going to be a probably easy win, I want to say. But that also depends on Ominous getting more of their bugs figured out. And, like, is Ominous going to, is Ominous going to pull off is Ominous going to pull off a Horizon in their third fight? And, miraculously, oh my god, it works, and oh god, it's hitting things, Kenny. Is it going to do that? I think it might have the potential to do that, and I think it has 100% the potential to knock out Switchback here. As we saw with its fight against Death Roll, Switchback is still kind of vulnerable to Verts. And, well, here we have Vert. Deal with it, gentlemen. Shred It Bro Lucky. Oh, goodness. Oh, buddy. Lucky has been on a tear this season. Lucky is only getting better and better with their new driver, and unfortunately, I think this is going to be a open and shut fight. Hopefully, Shred It Bro can get its drive up and running, because I really want to see a really competitive fight here.
100%.
But, I think Lucky might pull this one out.
Derrin,
and it might just be decisive.
Derrin, you want to talk about next opponents for both of them?
Ominous Shatter. I think
it's
I said
Ominous
this earlier.
Switchback, but you can talk.
I mean,
about
Switchback.
Shatter if you want.
Let's see, Switchback's been kind of this season weapon, and probably Ominous because they can drive good. Shredder Bro Lucky. If Shredder Bro can get their stuff worked out, I think they might have a good chance. But if they don't, this is a win for Lucky. Okay, boom. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, my takes.
Thank you for summarizing the 5 paragraphs that I've said.
Yeah, Ominous
I'm
and
great at that.
Switchback. That one, I think both robots have quite a bit to prove right here, because both robots have also been suffering some gremlins throughout the season so far. I think I'm going to lean more towards Switchback on this one, but that could really go either way. I think, once again, it's just going to come down to who can sort out lots of those bugs better. Shredder Bro and Lucky, like what Alex said earlier, Lucky has been dominant this season. Like, they showed a lot more potential last season when bringing in their new driver for this year, and he's continuing to prove that he's like just what the Lucky team needed, basically. And as of right now, I'm gonna lean towards Lucky on this one, and just because Shredder Bro hasn't done enough to really convince me, at least compared to Lucky, who's been dominant their first 2 fights. But like Derrin said, if Shredder Bro can get those glitches and bugs sorted out, like I think Shredder Bro could have a serious shot at winning this fight. So yeah, and so then before we move on to the main event, I kind of wanted to address the judge's decision a little bit. Derrin can talk about this if he wants to. No, Alex already talked about this a little bit earlier. Shredder Bro did choose to appeal this decision, and thought I'd share my thoughts on the judge's decision at least. this is another decision where I agreed with this one, and like, yeah. So how I would have scored this one: control and aggression. I scored both of those in favor of Shred It Bro, because aggression, at least, Ominous was doing a lot of circling while Shred It Bro was trying to come towards the opponent. I felt they were being a little more aggressive in there. And then control wise, there just wasn't a lot of control, in my opinion, from either robot, really. And that big hit at the beginning is why I would give the edge to Shred It Bro. However, damage, I scored that 4-1 for Ominous, actually. So, I did that mostly, like, while Shred It Bro did have the big hit of the match, like, it didn't seem like they did too much damage other than, like, minor damage to the weapon and maybe a little bit to the front, like to a wedgelet or something. But then, in comparison, Shred It Bro lost his weapon for the rest of the fight, and we're having drive problems and bits of it, so that's why I agreed with the decision right there. That's another one where I can see why people disagreed with that one and why the Shredded Pro team chose to appeal it. So, yeah. Darren, do you have any thoughts on it if you would like to share, or should we just move on to the main event?
We can just move on. I thought the decision was correct.
All right, last one. Main event: Monsoon and Whiplash. So, both robots kind of in a difficult spot, one more than the other at least. Monsoon currently sitting at 1-1, victory over Horizon. Started off the season with loss to Black Dragon. Whiplash in unknown territory, an 0-2 hole with losses to Mad Catter and Hypershock. So Matty Vasquez a bit on the ropes in this one, and like they said there, they felt the playoffs started today because they felt that even if they lost this fight, a win against Tantrum might not be enough to make bracket, which he might be right on. So, but regardless, talking about the fight though, like Monsoon tested out a new spinner for this one and looked like it worked pretty well because they were able to carve up Whiplash pretty well. But it wasn't enough because Whiplash controlled the fight pretty well. This one got some damaging shots with a spinner of their own, and it was a great main event in my opinion. I thought this was the most one of the more back and forth matchups of the episode. So yeah, everyone want to share thoughts on this one?
Uh, sure. I'm definitely down. This one was like this was a really good fight, and like I said the last time I was on, uh, you know, Matt currently has his back against the wall, and when he has his back against the wall, he's gonna come out swinging, and in my opinion, that's exactly what we saw in this fight. Um, I do think it wasn't as definitive as the judges' scorecards kind of put it, but that might also just be my love for Monsoon coming through. I'm, a very big fan of Monsoon, but I'm also a very big fan of Whiplash, and I think that uh, they had so much more control over this fight. They had while they had a great deal of damage done to them by the end of it, they were still, dictating the pace of the fight, and that is arguably the most important thing when it comes to any fight. Uh, the one that tends to the ones that tend to dictate the pace are going to be are usually going to be the ones that win unless something goes horribly wrong.
100%.
And a very well fought victory from Matt here. I know Tom appealed the decision, rightfully so, because he had done a lot of damage, and well, I think that this was one of those fights that honestly could have been a split decision. I don't think it, or no, it was a split decision.
It originally was a split decision, but after the appeal.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. I forgot. It's one of those fights that I think should have stayed a split decision. There we go. Because, yeah, Monsoon did a lot of damage to Whiplash. And it's sort of just like, where does damage how I know that damage does have weight, but like how much weight does it really have at the end of the day? That's a full other discussion that we don't really have time for tonight, but
Yeah, definitely. So I'll just quick share my thoughts and we'll let Darren go following that. Yeah, banger main event, and without a doubt, like definitely, I think high quality win or loss from both robots right here because both had some amazing moments in the match right there, and definitely Matt Vasquez did a great job driving this match and getting in good control moments when he could, despite taking a bunch of the damage, like what you're seeing right on the screen right there, because you see part of Whiplash's top armor popped open like a tuna can, and which is kind of what's expected when you're taking on such a powerful spinner like Monsoon. And this was definitely not going to be an easy one, but glad to see Whiplash held up really well to all the impacts. Yeah, and like what was said, Monsoon did choose to appeal this decision as well, which we saw quite a few of those. I think it was Civilian Arc last time who said that we were probably going to see more judges' decision appeals coming later on, and he was
mm-hmm.
spot on because we got 3 in this episode right there. And
Yep.
I agreed with the
Right in a row
decision.
too.
Yeah, I agreed with the decision personally. I thought the judges got this one right. I would have had this one for Whiplash, but I know there are some people that disagreed with this decision, and I can absolutely see where they're coming from. Yeah, how I would have scored this fight, I would have edged Whiplash out in aggression and control in this one, and but it was super close, and I would have given Monsoon a 3-2 edge on damage. The reason why it's not like 4-1 or 5-0 damage from Monsoon is just because it looked like Monsoon was having drive problems at the end of the match, like they lost a motor or something, and that's kind of what gives me the edge that Whiplash deserves some damage point credit. So,
Mm-hmm.
but like what was said, I can see why Tom appealed that decision, uh, and why some people think Monsoon should have been the one to come out on top in this one. So, 100%. Darren, you got any thoughts on this one?
This is a pretty close fight. I mean, it just is really close. I feel bad because I really wanted Monsoon to win because I love Monsoon, and well, to say Whiplash has been kind of having a rough go of it. But yeah, like I can see how they won, even though Whiplash did lose drive. I think on a wheel near the end. I think Monsoon also kind of sort of lost drive, but kind of didn't. I don't know what's going on there. Interesting seeing them constantly switching their weapon direction. It was cool to see that working very well for Monsoon. It was a pretty good fight. You can tell both of them were really trying to outwedge the other and get around the other. Good driving battle. Uh, yeah. Unfortunately, it was a good loss for Monsoon. Pretty good win for a much needed win for Whiplash, considering they've been kind of having a very rough go of it so far. And let's see, their next fight is against Tantrum.
Yeah.
Good luck for them.
Mm.
I mean, you never know. I mean, I'd like to see Whiplash win that fight. Really give the champs a good back and forth battle. Sort of like it'll be a fun. That's gonna be a interesting fight. If Whiplash works, then they stand a good chance of winning that one. Decision for this fight. Yeah, I thought I was correct. I will
100%.
say I find it mildly hilarious that after the appeal, it went from a split decision to a unanimous decision, which was kind of sad. Poor Tom.
Yeah.
Like, what's the worst that could happen? Not only did you not win your
That.
appeal, you lost more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great
Like
job,
yeah, even
man.
though Monsoon did fall to 1-2 on this one, like that was not a bad loss regardless, because
Not at all.
yeah, like you're going up against a big opponent in Whiplash, and they had some very high quality moments in that one. But yeah, regarding next opponents, we already talked about Monsoon Death Roll. As for Whiplash Tantrum, like that's gonna be an interesting one, cause like on one hand, it's two of the best drivers going at it in this one with Dylan and Maddie. And then on the other hand, both robots are kind of in danger of possibly not making bracket in this one. Both robots are currently sitting at 1 and 2. I think whoever wins this one for sure makes the bracket. I think whoever does not come out on top, I think they could make the bracket if they have like a quality performance in this match. Because one thing that's for sure, both these robots, the strength of schedule is there 100%, and
Mm-hmm.
because both robots have had a very tough season so far, getting such huge names, and I think these two robots have had probably the two hardest schedules so far this season, in my opinion. And
Mm-hmm.
like I'm not gonna count out whoever loses this fight from making the top 32 because I think they both have the potential to make bracket at 1 and 3, but we'll find
Mm-hmm.
out. As for prediction wise, I'm gonna lean towards Whiplash on this one, and because I like Matt Vasquez's driving abilities with this one, and the ground game I think is gonna be key to this one. And I like how Whiplash has performed when it comes to the ground scraping forks for this one. So
Uh, I'm. This is going to be a very interesting fight for both teams because, like you said, they're both at 1 and 2, which is very unprecedented for a defending champion. Uh, at the moment, Tantrum is having a very rough go of it. Uh, Primarily spurred on by issues with its self-writer. Um, and it looked like they've had some of those issues ironed out over the past two fights. They were able to self-write against Hydra and also Blip, but hopefully it maintains that same level of reliability here, because if it doesn't, one flip from Whiplash could mean the almost the end of the road for the champs.
definitely.
I don't think that uh, I don't think that Tantrum losing means that they won't get a spot on the bracket, because, well, one in if even if they're 1 in 3, they are still the defending champion. But they will have a much lower seed. Blah blah blah. Um, that being said, they are still not someone to be taken lightly. They were champions for a reason, and they are still an incredibly capable robot. Although I think Matt's driving might be the deciding factor in this fight. I'm leaning towards Whiplash, but you know, whoever wins, the audience will have a great time.
Yeah, I think this is just going to be a driving match for the ages, and
Mm-hmm.
we always love a good driving match. So, yeah. Anything else on this battle or the fight card? Oh,
Nothing I can really think of.
we'll go ahead and close it out here then. So, yeah, thanks for watching
All
this
right.
video. Thanks to Derrin
I
and
just
Alex Price especially for coming to this one. It's always great to get to talk with you about these matchups, and yeah, always honor to have builders on this thing and get to talk with them about these fights. So,
Thank you for having me on as always. I enjoyed the last time I was on, and I enjoyed this time as well. So thank you guys so much. Uh,
absolutely. If you want if you want design updates or anything, check out Horizon's social media info. They'll all be linked down below, including the YouTube channel, because I'm sure there'll be a recap video coming out probably sometime before the matchup with Triton. And
Yes.
also, if you want a Horizon part, check out eBay. Hey, where there's quite a few parts available. Some of them are buy now stuff, so rather than
Links in
auctioning
the
off stuff.
description.
Yep. You can also find that in the description as well. So, yeah, once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the next podcast. Bye.